Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk stablecoins. And really, we're trying to answer one big question. What does stable actually mean? Especially, when it's your money on the line.
This quote from our source material, it just cuts through all the jargon, all the noise. This is it. This is the whole game right here. When things get crazy, can you get your money back? And how fast? That's what we're digging into, because at the end of the day, that's literally all that matters.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll start with the two main ways to build a stable coin. Then I'm going to give you a checklist, kind of a toolkit to size up any stable coin you come across. And finally, we'll put it all to the test and see how the top 10 biggest players really stack up against each other.
All right, let's get into it. The two paths to stable: cash vault versus code engine. See, at the end of the day, pretty much every stablecoin out there falls into one of these two buckets. And believe me, they have very different risk profiles.
So, let's make this super simple. On one hand, you've got cash-backed. Think of it like a digital receipt, a claim check for actual dollars sitting in a vault somewhere. It's an IOU. On the other hand, you have synthetic yield. This isn't a claim check for cash, it's a claim on a constantly running, complex financial engine that's trying to make money. Two totally different things. Let's break them down.
Okay, so cash-backed stablecoins. We're talking about the big names here, like USDC, USDT, you know the ones. Their whole mission is to be a digital dollar, plain and simple. They're backed one-to-one by super safe stuff like actual cash and short-term government bonds. The money they make? Just simple, boring interest.
And then you have the other side of the coin, synthetic yield stablecoins. This is your USDE category. These guys are not backed by a pile of cash. Nope. They're backed by a really complex active trading strategy. Think balancing long and short positions to capture yield. It's a whole different ballgame, and yeah, it's inherently riskier.
Okay, so we've got these two very different models. How in the world do you judge them? How do you know it's safe? Well, our source material gives us this fantastic toolkit, basically a safety checklist you can use for any stablecoin you run into.
All right, for the cash-backed ones, it's all about the basics, the fundamentals. First, what's actually in the reserves? Is it really 100% cash and safe stuff? Second, how do you know? Are there audits? How often? And maybe the most important question of all, how do you get your money out? Can you do it fast, especially when everyone else is trying to do the same thing?
Now, for the synthetic ones, the checklist looks totally different. We're not asking what's in the vault, we're asking about the engine. First, when does this strategy break? What's its failure point? Second, who are the counterparties? Which exchanges are they relying on? Third, what happens in a crisis? Are there limits on withdrawals? And finally, can you even see what they're doing? Is it transparent in real time?
Okay, theory time is over. Let's put this framework into practice. We took our checklist and applied it to the 10 biggest stablecoins by market cap. Let's see how they stack up in a head-to-head showdown.
Whoa, okay, here's the full ranking. And just look at this. The scores are all over the place. We've got some scoring near a perfect 25, and others, not so much. This just proves that the word stablecoin can mean a lot of different things. To really get a feel for this, let's zoom in on 3 really different examples from this list.
First up, coming in at number 1, we have USDC. Its score is a whopping 22.9 out of 25. And honestly, this isn't a huge surprise. USDC has really built its reputation as the gold standard for being compliant and transparent.
And here's why it scores so high. Just look at its reserves. It's simple. It's 100% cash and super safe short-term government stuff. There are no weird, complex assets in there. It's exactly what it says on the tin, a digital dollar backed by actual dollars.
And you can see that focus on safety right here in its scorecard. Perfect 5 out of 5 for reserve quality and transparency. That's because they have regular, high-quality audits that you can actually go and read. It's pretty clear this thing was built from the ground up for big players who care about safety.
So if you had to sum up USDC in one go, it's the stablecoin for risk managers. It's all about safety, transparency, and being able to prove it. It might not be the absolute most liquid, but for people who need to sleep at night, its disclosures are super reassuring.
All right, now let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Tether, or USDT. It's the biggest by a country mile, but look where it is in the rankings. Number 8, with a score of 18. That's a huge gap. So what's going on here?
Well, for starters, its reserve mix is different. It's not that clean 100% pie chart we saw with USDC. Here, about 80% is cash and treasuries. But that other 20%? It's a mix of other stuff.
And frankly, the disclosures about what's in that 20% are just not as clear.
And you see that reflected in its scores. Lower marks for transparency, lower marks for redemption certainty. But look at that one, a perfect 5 out of 5 for systemic importance. Why? Because USDT is the lifeblood of crypto trading. It is the most liquid, most used stablecoin on the planet, full stop.
And that right there is the fundamental trade-off with USDT. If you need liquidity, if you're a trader, nothing beats it. It's the king. But you have to be okay with the fact that it's less transparent and that you, as a regular person, can't just go and directly redeem it for $1. That's a big deal.
Okay, let's completely switch gears now. We've talked about cash-backed, now let's look at a synthetic yield coin. This is USDE, and you can see it's ranked number 9 with a score of 15.3. This is a totally different animal.
Remember that financial engine we talked about? Well, here it is. This is what it looks like. Its reserves are not a simple pile of cash. It's a mix of some cash, sure, but also a big chunk of crypto and complex derivative positions that are being actively managed.
And this is so important to understand. Its stability doesn't come from a vault of dollars. It comes from that trading strategy working perfectly. It depends on funding rates and the exchanges they use staying stable. And in a crisis, the source is clear. The first thing they'll do is hit the brakes on redemptions to protect that engine. That's a huge risk.
Okay, we've been through a lot. We've looked at the top, the middle, and the bottom of the rankings. So, what's the final verdict? What should you actually take away from all of this?
First, and this is the big one, not all stablecoins are the same. Not even close. The name stable can be really misleading. Second, you have to know what you're buying. A cash-backed coin is basically a bet on an institution's transparency and solvency. A synthetic yield coin is a bet on a complex financial strategy. Two different bets. And finally, you have to come back to that first question we asked. Can you get your dollar back? And how fast? Always ask that.
And all of this really leaves us with one massive question for the future of money. What do we want more? Do we want the audited, regulated safety of a digital cash vault? Or do we want the innovation, the high yield, and the risks that come with a decentralized financial engine? I mean, that's not just a billion-dollar question. It's probably a trillion-dollar one.